we've launched these legacy virtuals, which are weekly trainings every Friday between the beginning of the year, and we're going to go at least until the end of February. And we've got some really, really cool topics, and they're going to be every Friday morning, 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern time, and they're free, right? Like, we used to charge for trainings and do all the stuff, and we realized, let's just give it all away for free and help as many people as we can. So that's more of our vibe this year. So we're pretty pumped, and that's kind of how we got started, and we're going back to the roots, and pretty excited for it. So this week is all about underwriting and acquisitions, specifically of commercial real estate. We'll be talking about, and these strategies can be used for any asset class. It can be used for residential, for commercial, office, retail, warehouse, self-storage, industrial, medical, Airbnbs, like anything that you're looking to scale your portfolio. A lot of these strategies can be used. And we're going to talk a little bit about underwriting and specifically underwriting for these varying interest rates and how things are moving, and in a little bit of a volatile market, right? And so we'll be talking a lot about that. We have a couple discussion panels. I'll go through all that stuff momentarily. But then next week we're gonna be talking about building your personal brand. I think the highest value of my time, the most important thing that I can be doing with my time, is building my personal brand, because it brings deal flow, it brings money flow, it brings buyers, it brings investors, it brings opportunity, it brings people who want to work with us, whether that's joint ventures or employees. It builds instant credibility, and any future business that I want to launch is an instant success because I have a personal brand already. So if you don't have a personal brand, you got to be on next week's call, because we'll be talking all about how to build your personal brand, specifically through social media. So pretty pumped about that. We have some unbelievable guests. My boy Pace Morby is going to be on next week. Ben Azadi, who's a health and nutrition expert, over 150,000 followers on Instagram and all sorts of followers on YouTube. I have somebody who's a travel business, and they're an expert in that space. They got about 100,000 followers in the travel industry. She's a travel, what do you call that? Agent, I guess, something like that, but like super high end, some really cool stuff. And somebody else who's got a huge following in more the fitness type of space. So you're gonna see varying industries, regardless of what you're in. We talk about that. We also have the week after that is how to passively invest in real estate. So if you are an accredited investor, you're invited out to that one. And I have a couple of people who have made a lot of money and what they look for in passive investments, and how they underwrite the operator, how they look at deals, how they look at returns versus risk rewards, and all that kind of stuff. We'll be going through a lot of those things in different, mostly real estate investing, but we'll be talking about some other investments and assets and stuff too. So that's going to be really, really powerful. The week after that is all about new development, new construction. We're going to do this. Actually, I'm going to be out on site at a development deal of mine in Savannah, Georgia. We're going to walk some townhouses and talk to you guys about that. So that'll be fun. And I'm going to have my team, my operations team and stuff with me. So we'll just kind of like go around on that one. And then, so that's, I think, January 2. And then I think we're going to do one on team building next month. We're going to do personal. Can you guys make sure everybody's muted, please? We're going to do one on team building next month. We're going to do one on personal finance next month. And we're also going to do one on property management and asset management, and like operations, and making sure you got a tight hold on what you're doing on the operational side. So a lot of good stuff, tons of value leading up to our Legacy Summit in New Orleans, which is our mastermind summit. So we got a lot to go over. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen, and this is going to be a little bit more formal than last year's. There it is. Can you guys see this? Thumbs up? Yep. Awesome. All right. Slideshow it up. Acquisitions and underwriting masterclass. So welcome. Excited to have you guys here. What to expect. We're going to start out with talking about how to find off-market, specifically commercial real estate deals. It's going to be myself. I have my chief marketing officer and director of acquisitions, Nick Burton, on as well. And then we're going to have a Q&A discussion with a couple of rock stars who specialize in finding deals. Dan Costantino, he's got about, I think he's got 600 or 800 doors. He's out of the Pittsburgh market. David Hughes is out of Florida. And does a lot on the residential side, but also scaling into the commercial side. Bobby Tyndall has REI Tactical, which is very strategic way on how he finds deals and does flips. And I think he's actually on site at one of his properties right now. So we'll be talking a little bit about how he bought that one. I think he's buying the one across the street, the one next to that. And so playing a little bit of Monopoly over there. So we'll have those guys on. We'll talk for about 30 minutes on a Q&A. You can ask me, Nick, and any of them, any questions that you might have. Just put them in the chat box. And then we'll be talking about, after that, I'll be talking about how to qualify and underwrite commercial deals. I have a quick strategy where you can at least see if something is in the ballpark of making sense. In literally less than a minute, you can underwrite, not fully underwrite, but it tells you whether it's worth diving into further, right? And so that way you can sort through commercial deals and opportunities that hit your desk even faster. And then we're going to talk about how to cash flow underwrite in this varying interest rate type of an environment. And then we'll open it up for another Q&A. So that will be just me, Nick, Caleb Pearson. We'll kind of bring it all together. Any questions that you have, we'll make sure that we get to those. And again, we have nothing to sell, but there are people who are looking for an ongoing community and people who want to work together and like our vibe. And if that's you, we would love to chat with you about Legacy Family. I'm not going to take any time away from this 2-hour training for that, but I'm happy to stay on for 15 minutes afterwards from 12:15-ish range and answer any questions, share a little bit about our mastermind. And if it seems like a good fit, you're looking for a community to help you scale your rental portfolio. I mean, we have every resource you could ever imagine in our mastermind. And yeah, so if it sounds like a good fit, we can schedule a call, hop on a call, just make sure it works for you, make sure it's going to work for us, and then send an invitation if everything makes sense. So, our goal here is we want to buy deals from you, provide deals to you, and create investment opportunities for everybody, right? Like us sharing this information does not create competition in my mind. In my mind, it creates collaboration, right? You've heard me say, wealth is like sunshine. And you getting sunshine takes no sunshine away from me. Me getting sunshine takes no sunshine away from you. There's an unlimited amount for all of us. And I think money is the same way. And so me sharing this stuff really creates opportunities as opposed to competition. I just don't see that scarcity mindset. I like the abundance side of things. If you're not familiar with who we are, quick background. I graduated college in 2007, so I'm 38 years old today, and went out to New York City. I'm from Ohio originally, became a real estate broker, saw how much money there was in investing in real estate, so I went down that road. 2009, bought my first investment property. By 2012, we bought our first apartment building. And over the course of about 3-4 years, built that up to about 300 or 400 units. Also built up an in-house management company. We were doing about 100 turnkey flips per year in 2016. And in 2017, I looked at my portfolio and realized 90% of my net worth came from the commercial real estate, and only 10% of my time was being dedicated to that. And I thought, hey, what if we got out of all the transactional stuff and only focused on the long-term holds and the scale that commercial real estate can provide for us? And so we went all in early 2017, and over the course of the next 4 years, scaled the portfolio from about 400 or 500 doors to over 4,800 units. And we've done pretty much every asset class. I have offices, like micro offices. I have retail spaces. We've done multiple self-storage facilities. We've done ground up development, construction, a lot of apartments, obviously, in 12 different states, high-end Airbnbs, kind of mid-range Airbnbs, and short-term rentals, and what else? What other asset classes are there? I don't know. We've done pretty much all of them. And over the past 2 years, we've really been refining our portfolio. I think there's been a lot of properties we bought that were maybe a little bit smaller, or things that were out of state, or things that were in areas that were great stepping stones to get into and start scaling the rental portfolio. And now we've kind of sold off the smaller things. We're selling off some things that are out of state, and kind of I've refined the portfolio down to about 3,000 doors today. And our goal is not necessarily to light the world on fire. I mean, there's been years where we bought 1,000 to 2,000 doors, like 100, 150, $200 million worth of property in a single year. And it's a lot of work. And once you get to a certain level, I would say that your lifestyle doesn't change as you grow the portfolio beyond a certain point, other than it just becomes more work, right? And there's more risk, and there's more liability, and there's more headaches, and more time that it consumes. And so we're just looking to buy and or build about $50 million of just good deals every single year. And that's kind of where we are in our portfolio today. And so you got a phenomenal team. You guys are going to meet several people from the team today and over the course of the next few weeks, and be able to learn from all their insights and all their experience. So I got a couple fun facts for you as we dive in here. This is actually as of like 2019. So these are a couple of years old, a few years old, and I haven't been able to find hard stats, like updated stats. And so that I can verify also. So these are the most qualified, from the U.S. government website, whatever, of how many multifamily units there are in the United States. Over 21 million multifamily units. So today there's probably like 23 to 24 million multifamily units. But the largest single owner only owns 100,000. Now that's still a lot, right? But it shows you that's 0.4% of the total market. Right. And if you think about it from like a Google perspective, or Apple, or Amazon and Walmart, like those Goliaths own 50, 70% of the markets that they're in, of the industries that they're in. And so this market of owning commercial real estate is not a market of huge giants. It's a market of mom and pop owners, people like you and me who own a couple of properties or even a few thousand units, but there's not a lot of people who own tens of thousands of units. And so my point being, there's a boatload of opportunity for all of us. There are over 2.5 million properties between 2 to 4 units, right? 2.5 million between just 2 to 4 units. That's duplexes, triplexes, quads. And there's over 684,000 properties that are over 5 units. And again, there's probably over 750,000 today after everything that's been built over the past handful of years. You know how many I own? I own about 50. Maybe not even. I probably own 40. Probably own 40. 40 properties. And I have an unbelievable lifestyle, and it's provided unbelievable income and unbelievable lifestyle for several people on my team and all of our investors as well. Right. So I don't even own 100% of those 40 buildings. I own on average about 40% of the properties that I own personally. And then the rest is carved up amongst my team and our investors. There are over 47,000 properties that are between 50 to 99 units. It's a lot. And there are 43,000 that are over 100 units. Right. So about 100,000 of those doors are over 50 units. And then there's another 600,000 that are 5 to 50 units. Here's the key. You only need one to change your financial future forever. One of these things, if you bought it this year and you held on it for the next 30 years, you bought a $5 million property this year. And over the next 30 years, you paid it down and paid off the mortgage, and the property's probably going to at least double. You own from one property this year, 30 years from now, you have a $10 million net worth from doing something one time and not waiting to buy real estate, but then instead buying real estate and waiting. That's the power that we've got here. So we're going to talk all about that. I am going to, hey, Nick, do you want me to handle the slides, or do you want to handle?
I can handle the slides.
All right, man. I'm going
I got
to
them pulled
stop
up.
my screen share so that way you can start your screen share. And Nick Burton, guys, is my Chief Marketing Officer and Director of Acquisitions. He's been part of my team since 2015. 9 years together this year. And he has worked from starting out as an intern in our company and growing. He oversaw all the acquisitions for the single family side when we're flipping about 100 houses a year, and then has pivoted to all the commercial deals. He's acquired thousands of doors for us. And on top of those thousands of doors, he's expert. He's become an expert at marketing, outbound marketing, inbound marketing, email marketing, all sorts of different networking strategies and ways to find commercial deals to the point where now he's vested into equity and he's our chief marketing officer. So that being said, I'm going to hand it over to you, Mr. Nick.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate the team crushing it this morning. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Burton. Like Tim said, I've been coming up on and it'll be 9 years in May, which is kind of crazy to think about because I'm only 29. That I was almost basically my entire 20s will be with Tim. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go over all about how we're finding deals. I want to go over a little bit of area evaluation first, and then we're going to go into some of the ways that we actually check on some of these deals. So, guys, choosing your market, right? This is one of the biggest questions that I get. It's, hey, where should I be looking for properties? And the easiest answer, and I think the best answer, is just in your own backyard, right? Where do you live? And obviously, there's some times where it doesn't make sense to buy in your own backyard. Uh, you know, we started out buying in Cleveland because that's where the entire team was, and then started branching out from there, sticking to the Midwest and Southeast. But guys, we have bought A and B and C class area properties. Okay. Now, right
Bro,
now in our
we bought D
portfolio, we're
class
sticking
too.
to we bought D class. We bought
Plenty of
F. I
D
remember
class too.
we bought a house once and in a big package, and we went to do the inspection after we bought it, and it was gone. It was gone. It didn't exist anymore. I think it had burned down or something. It was one of like 50 properties that we bought in this big bundle. But we've done some tricky areas before, and C class might not be for us right now, but it was what got us to where we were at. So I know a lot of people say stay out of C class. Now, if you're looking to get started, I think getting wins, hitting singles is really the most important thing. So um, I wouldn't stay away from C class necessarily. There's a time and place for it. Safety, right? I'm going to go over some tools to go check out after this if you're qualifying an area. Making sure that crime is down, there's no murders, anything like that going on. Schools, greatschools.com, area vibes, again, all stuff that I'm going to be checking on. Economic anchors. This can be a positive and a negative, right? Positive if there's a lot of economic anchors, negative if there's only like one or two. I remember we were looking at a deal down in, I think, Bay City, Texas. And Bay City, Texas, their economy basically depends on, I think, this pipe fitting factor. It's like a multi-billion-dollar pipe fitting factor. And a lot of these guys were making big money. Now, that's awesome, but what happens if that closed down or COVID hits and they can't go into work every day and they lay off half the staff, whatever it is, then you're kind of screwed. Population growth, try to look for something that's either stable or trending. You don't really want to see anywhere that's kind of on the downward trend. Demographics, some things that we look at, we use city-data.com a lot. Minimum household incomes, minimum household value, some other things to throw in there. I like to see if there's an airport going there, just in case we have to get there. And the last one would be a highway going through it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but if it's a really small town and it's you just kind of got to go back roads to get there, that's not that ideal. So qualifying areas, I know I touched on this. Areavibes.com. We use this a ton. It is you plug in the zip code or the area, and it'll spit out a score from 0 to 100. We like to see probably around 70 or more is what we typically like to see. Now, take this score with a grain of salt. I'm more so like the letter grades that it gives you. It gives you one for crime, schools, amenities, cost of living, reviews, a couple other things in there, but we really like that. It's a free tool to use. Google Street View. This is one of the best. Hop on Google Street View, see when that photo was taken, usually in the top left or bottom right of the screen. It'll tell you where what year that was taken. If it's 22, 2013, or 2023, it's probably pretty good. Now, if it's from 2008, 2009, a lot can change. So I wouldn't put too much weight on that one. Property management companies, calling and asking questions. You can't say, hey, is this a good area or is this a bad area? But you can ask, how easy is it to lease in this area? And they might come back and say, oh man, like as soon as a vacancy comes up over there, we're leasing it right away. Or they can say, hey, we don't even lease over there. They don't even lease over there. That's probably a good indication that it's not the best area, right? And obviously, the best way to qualify an area is just go check it out. It's within 2 hours. Pretty easy to get over there, check it out, drive the neighborhood, ask around. If it's not within 2 hours, ask somebody else that's come out to Commercial Empire or in Legacy Family, or maybe join a Facebook group of that specific area and ask somebody in there to go check it out. And I'm sure they know what that area is like without even driving over there. So that's qualifying an area. Just to sum that up, I would look in your own backyard. And if you can't find anything in your own backyard, which probably means it's just a very small town, then I would look at areas that you want to invest in, where maybe you like vacationing to or going to, and you have family there, whatever, somewhere that you like. We stick to the Midwest and Southeast. We don't really mess around on the West Coast or the Northeast. I know a bunch of people are super successful in those areas, but this is what we know, and this is kind of what we like. So, where to search daily? I'm going to go over my top 5 at the end. Okay, so I'm going to list out just a ton of different ways, and then we'll go over my top 5, and and then move over into the panel. So, existing email list: commercial brokers, single family, rental brokers, wholesalers, other investors. This is one of my top ones. I love our email list. If you are not doing email, cold email or warm email, I would definitely start dialing for dollars, for sale by owners, for rent by owners. We call up the for rent by owners and we'll say, hey, I'm not interested in renting this apartment. I was wondering if you're interested in an offer on the entire building. I always try to go in with, hey, I want to make you an offer, rather than, are you interested in selling? If you say that, you kind of just, I don't know, sounds too brokery for me. And I think everybody's kind of open to an offer. Driving for dollars. Look for signs of distress. I've gone on runs before and passed by tons of apartment buildings, and they'll have the crummy little for rent sign outside that's handwritten. The owner is writing that sign, right? Google reviews. Look for poor ratings or reviews. Online, check out the MLS. Pull the withdrawn and expired listings, or reach out to those brokers and say, hey, do you guys have anything? Because obviously these people are getting listings. And then I would try to skip trace that property owner, and reach out to them and be like, hey, I saw this didn't sell. I was wondering if you're still interested in an offer. LoopNet, old listings, reaching out to brokers there. These LoopNet listings, the ones that have been up for at least a year, are primed for some kind of creative financing. Zillow, Craigslist, social media. I'm going to touch on that one in a minute. Direct mail, postcards, letters, gift baskets. We were never the best direct mail people. I know some people that are absolutely crushing it with direct mail. I love the idea of like a fake handwritten letter, and then I also love like wedding invitations. I think crush. Where to search daily? Again, networking, mastermind groups, RIAs, landlord associations, meetups, social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Bigger Pockets. I'm going to touch on these two in just a minute. Again, vendors, landscapers, exterminators, appliance people, tradesmen. We get deals from our laundry guy that services our machines that we rent from him for some of our properties up in Cleveland. Exterminators, plumbers, and roofers, I would say, are kind of the big ones. They know where there are significant issues, and if you can, if you know any apartment buildings that where the owner might be interested in selling, and they have shitty roofs, I'm happy to give you guys the bid at doing that work. And I will give them the first bid at doing the work. I might not necessarily use them if I don't think they're qualified or their pricing's right, but I will give them the first bid. Building departments, violation list, tax delinquencies. Depending on your county and city, you can have an open records request and try to pull some of that info. and eviction court some motivated sellers, right? If you see somebody going up again and again and again to eviction court, that means they have a lot of vacancy. You know who is motivated to sell? Somebody with a lot of vacancy. Existing network, I would reach out to all these people and just let them know, hey, I'm interested in buying multifamily, 5 units or more. I'm trying to pick up 60 units in the next 60 days, whatever that is. So title companies, mortgage brokers, management companies, clients, trades workers, insurance agents, brokers, agents, wholesalers, other investors, attorneys, eviction courts, CPAs, bookkeepers, probate attorneys. Okay. Just going to blow through that one because I want to go over my top 5. Okay. All of these are great. There's a million other ways to find deals. These are our favorite. Okay. These are in no order, but this is what's working for us and what I've seen to be the best kind of return on our investment. This one is probably number 1 on this list, right? Networking. Letting people know what you want and what you do. That's the biggest thing, letting people know that you're buying multifamily. If you've only been in single family and flipping and wholesaling for the longest time, they're not sending you multifamily deals because they don't know that you're interested, right? So joining mastermind groups, going to the RIAs. If you're in Charleston, there's an incredible one the first Thursday of every single month down at Palmetto Brewing. I would definitely recommend going. It's awesome. But getting plugged into your area, seeing who's doing deals, shucking and jiving a little bit, and seeing who the deal makers are. Social media, again, this kind of plays into the networking. Letting people know what you do and what you want. Post on Facebook. Join Facebook groups. If you're looking in Cleveland, join all the Cleveland Facebook groups. Say, hey, I'm an investor. I'm looking to pick up another 50 units by the end of the year. If you have anything, let me know. Right? Email. This is our bread and butter. Warm and cold email campaigns. This is super convoluted. The warm email is people that have opted into your email list. Cold email is people who have not opted into your email list. You have to go about these completely differently. And it's so scalable. It's so cheap. And it's awesome. We love warm and cold email. I would definitely look into both of those. If you don't have an email list going, I would start building your warm email list like yesterday. Okay. Make it a goal to add 10 people a day to that warm email list. Post an opt-in link for people to use, and or make a post on Facebook. Hey, who's interested in receiving a newsletter or free this or some deals that I have, and start growing up that email list. Texting has got a really bad rap over the last, I don't know, couple years, probably 12, 24 months. And from what I've heard is there's really no good way to do mass texting anymore unless they're opted in. Okay. We used to do texting, and it used to be if you click once for every text you want to send, as long as you click for that specific one, it's fine. So it was like, hey, if you're going to send 500 texts, you just have to click a button 500 times and it sends. And there's been a big crackdown. And so what I've been doing, and I think I don't really know anybody else doing this, at least at the level that we're doing it, is individually texting brokers or potential sellers. So skip trace a list, pull the owners, and individually text it. Copy and paste a message from your personal cell phone, and then you just type in the phone number, send. Type in the phone number, send. And it takes a while, but I love it. I think it's super personal. And then some people text back like stop because they think it's an automated text, and then you reply back like, haha, this is not an automated text, but absolutely no problem. I won't text you again. If you need anything or I can help you out, let me know. Right. So I love this individual texting. I don't really know of anybody else doing it much. So that's a big one. And then cold calling, right? Banging out calls. Skip trace a list, call the owners, call brokers, call other investors, call plumbers, call roofers, call electricians, call commercial insurance agencies, call mortgage brokers, whoever it is. Just bang out calls. If you make it a goal to text 10 people a day and call 10 people a day and email 10 people a day, you can get that done in like an hour, right? The calling obviously is going to take maybe a little bit longer, but the emailing and the texting should take you no longer than 10 minutes. Okay. These will crush. Okay. I want you guys to start building an email list, send out a couple texts, and let people know what you do, which comes to my last slide, word of mouth, guys. I know I'm about a minute over. I'm going to wrap it up real quick, but letting people know what you do and what you want is the most important thing you can do. Talk to everyone, network, grow your social media following, and share your goals and where you are now. You know, we share a lot of what the good things that we have going on are. We also share some of the bad things that aren't going on, right? Letting people know what's going on and be pretty transparent. Offer to partner up. This is what got us to where we are. You know, Tim's favorite line is, "I'd rather have 25% of a watermelon than 100% of a grape," right? And that's what's so beautiful about commercial real estate and multifamily. And it's a much bigger pie to where you can chop it up 5 different ways and still it be pretty valuable, rather than, hey, if you have a flip going on and it's a $10,000 assignment or $10,000 profit, splitting that up 5 ways isn't nearly as attractive. Submit offers daily, right? Swing the bat. Make offers. Do 3 offers. We're going to share our LOI template with you guys, and you know, letting people know that you're serious by making offers as well. Okay, I can't tell you how many people that reach out to us about a deal, and then I give them some info, and then they just disappear. Making offers will daily. That should be your number 1 KPI. How many offers are you making? Go to Crexy, go to LoopNet, start making offers, get in the rhythm of it. Follow up is key. This is something I struggled with for a few years, and then I finally started figuring it out. But making a list of every potential deal that's kind of going on, and sending a text or an email at least once a week. Hey, just want to check in on this. Where are we at? Get creative. This is one of the biggest things, and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on as well. Get creative. I used to think if a deal did not make sense one way, then it wasn't a deal. There are infinite ways to structure a deal. You could look at a deal one way and be like, this deal sucks. Like, there's no way I could do this deal. But if you structure it creatively, some seller finance, or creatively with your investors, there are infinite ways to structure a deal where you could then look at a deal and be like, oh man, this would crush if they carry this much, and I can get my investors at this much, but I give up this. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. Again, swing the bat, guys. You cannot hit a home run if you do not swing the bat. Okay. So guys, that's what I got. I want to open this up to some Q&A. I'm going to bring Tim back in. Timmy is back. And I think we're going to get into this panel. Tim,
Yeah,
what's up, buddy?
I was told my my audio was a little bit messed up. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's good.
Sounds good. All right, cool. Yeah, so we have a couple of our mastermind members who are rock stars at finding deals. I asked them to come out, share some insights. What's working today in this economy? And by the way, if you guys did not watch the state of the market last Friday, I would go back and watch that. We talk about the labor market, we talk about the insurance market, we talk about the real estate market, the financing markets, the taxes, the code that's changing, and a lot of other stuff. So go back and watch that. There's a ton of value on that. It's about 2 hours with just discussion panel, and it's like super, super high value. Lots and lots of good nuggets. And one of the nuggets, though, is that things are heating back up, right? If you guys haven't seen, there's offers being made. I think there's a lot of people out there who had their money on the sidelines. They were waiting to deploy their money. I'm going to wait for blood in the streets. And then the blood in the streets never really came. Yeah, there was a little bit of some quirks in the market and some other stuff last year, but the blood in the streets never really came. And the Fed said they're not going to raise rates in December. That dropped rates, even though they didn't change rates. Rates dropped by a full point on most mortgages. And then they said that they're alluding to probably 3 up to 4 changes of quarter point rate reductions next year, or I guess this year now. And so there's a lot of people who thought there would be blood in the streets realize there's not going to be blood in the streets for a while, at least not in 2024, not to the point that they were thinking, anyways. And instead, they're taking their money from the sidelines, they're putting it back in place. So there's been a lot of phone calls that we've been getting, a lot of emails we've been getting, a lot of brokers reaching out, a lot of buyers direct reaching out to us saying, I'm looking to buy some stuff. And by the way, I just posted on social media last night that I have a 200 unit in Central Georgia that we're going to be selling. It's a value add deal. It's only 50% occupied. We signed on the loan and took it over and some other stuff, but now it's our deal, right? And so my team's focused on some development stuff and doing a whole bunch with our education business. We have a software business and just other stuff that's on our plate right now. And I don't want to take over the operations of it. We'll maintain property management because we just fired the management company. So we'll take over in-house management, but I want somebody else to come in. Like we're going to do some creative financing, bring 8% down. You cover the operating expenses and the CapEx, which will probably be around $1 to $2 million, depending on what you do with it. And then, we'll figure out whatever the rest of it looks like. So if you are interested in that, shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and I can get you details on it once we put that together next week. And we come across deals all the time. So at the very least, say, hey, if you're looking for this area, that area, let us know because we always have opportunities there. All right. Yeah, look at deal flow has been tough, but yeah, well, let's talk about deal flow, right? So that's what we're here for. So how do you stir some things up, Taryn? I have 3 rock stars on here who I think specialize in acquisitions. I think of them when I think about acquisitions. And one of them is David Hughes. I don't know if you guys can highlight all these folks, but David Hughes, there's Bobby Tyndall. Who else are we missing?
We got Dan.
We got Dan.
And where's I don't see him though. There he is, Dan Costantino.
I'm on.
All right. So like I said at the beginning, guys, Dan, what do you got? 600 or 800 doors?
630.
630 doors. In the Midwest. He's out of Pittsburgh and doing some great things on the acquisition side. Obviously, he knows how to find deals. His cost basis in a lot of the deals is fantastic. And he's an operational ninja too. So make sure you follow him if you guys aren't following actually all 3 of these guys on social media. We'll share their handles in the chat box if you would. David Hughes, his wife Katie Marie are all-stars. They do coaching and they do mentorship on most of the single family side and a lot on how to find deals, how to structure deals, how to flip, wholesale, buy and hold, all those kinds of things. So he's a stud. Bobby Tyndall at one of his properties today. It looks like we got the walls primed. We're just waiting on paint, man. Hey, throwing some lipstick on it. Looking good. And I think you said that you have the house across the street or next door or something like that, and you're playing a little bit of Monopoly on this street. So I'm excited to hear more about that story and how you're able to take the single family side and almost create multifamily scale by buying a whole bunch of them in the same neighborhood. That sounds cool. So let's start out. Dan, what are you seeing in the market? Are you guys buying this year or I know you guys bought a lot of stuff and you're in the process of stabilizing some things. Are you looking to buy? Are people knocking on your door for you to sell, or what are you seeing right now in the marketplace?
Yeah, people are definitely reaching out to me more about buying our stuff. We will buy. I think I'll be in better position to acquire probably at the end of Q2. We're in 2 very big value add projects right now. We have about 150 vacant units that we're in the process of remodeling. I think we just made 30 rent ready over the past month and a half. So we've got a big push there. But as far as what it looks like, I definitely see people, like you already said it, people were looking for blood in the streets. It didn't happen, and it's not going to happen. I just went to a wealth conference in Buffalo last week where there were some family offices and some fund managers, and they're still very poised with private investments. The allocations in private investments, which are like our syndications and funds and things like that, is very small percentage wise. They're looking to increase that because they're just not sure where the equities market is going. So I definitely, and they did say that multifamily was a very big part of their future. So I do think it's going to heat up here as the rates go down. So I would implore everyone, like Burton said, you got to go make offers and make sure everyone knows what you're looking for.
And there was such a run up at the end of the year in the stock market and everything. Dude, you don't have that kind of a run up 2 years in a row. You know, like it went up 25% last year in the stock market. So guess what? People understand that. Smart people have taken their money out of the stock market and now putting it in tangible assets that they can see, feel, and touch because they know that it's got just longer staying power. You know, and so no matter what quirks happen with the traditional markets and equities markets and stocks. They want to be in the real estate side of things. So good stuff, man. Great insights. David, how you doing, buddy?
Better than ever, man. How are you?
Great, man. So tell me a little bit about what you guys are seeing. I know it's the beginning of the year, but you guys always have a lot of stuff going on, and you coach a large group, and so I'm sure you're getting feedback on what's happening in the market and just what's been going on the past 2 weeks.
Definitely. And before I want to say this first. Thank you, Tim, Nick, the team. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you, and you guys have been a major blessing in our life. I just want everybody to know this. You mentioned we're mostly single family. However, so right now we own 83 rentals. We're negotiating right now on a 45-unit apartment complex. But a lot of that's due to being here in your mastermind and a student. So I want everyone to know that if you guys are watching this, listening, learning from Tim and his team and Nick, like, to me, it's not a recommendation. Tim didn't ask me. He didn't know I was going to say this, but to me, if you're serious about growing and scaling efficiently and in a healthy, successful way, I would say it's not a recommendation to join the Legacy Family Mastermind. It's a requirement, you know, and that's the way I see it personally for myself and our family. And I just want everyone to know that because we personally almost tripled our portfolio last year alone. And we've been a student of Tim's in here for 2 years. And prior to that, I've been investing, living life full time off our passive income for 15 years already on a smaller portfolio, but it's been a lot of multiplication in the last year and 2 years. And so I just want to say that first as like a context of anything else I would share about what we're doing.
I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do directly with what we've learned, levers, relationships, those things, and then I'll answer that question. And then secondly, like you said, a lot of was single family, but now it's probably half of those 83 rentals, it's probably half houses, half smaller multifamily, 10 units, 5, all that. And now moving into this one, we might acquire this 45-unit apartment deal. But so I just want to say that because that's key for everyone learning and listening. The major difference, right, of going and trying to learn in here and go and execute versus being involved and engaged more intimately on a real-time basis where we can hop into these calls with Nick and them. I mean, it's just, so that's really the number one thing. And then as far as like with us and what we're seeing right now and what we're focused on, you know, probably a lot of it's just confirmation of what all you guys are saying, right? I mean, like we're just another living proof example. Some of the key notes I wrote down for us is that, you know, you can become financially free, forever financially free on just one deal or just a few. So as I mentioned, I was already financially free years ago, like 15 years ago in my late 20s. And I had no multifamily. It was just it was a small portfolio of rental houses. But that is exciting for me to always share with everyone, no matter where you're at. If you have a big portfolio, no portfolio, and you're looking to grow and multiply, it's really about your time and your lifestyle, right? And so for us, that's been the case. And it's more of our focus now, just like with you, on the property side, it's really people, right? And so we always tell people it's not real estate business, it's a people business. So the more real estate's just the vehicle. So the more you're dialing up your interpersonal skills, conversation skills, relationship skills, and you're focusing on what do they want most and delivering on that, just serving other people, being a solution specialist on value, these opportunities are coming to us. So like this 45 unit, it's an off-market deal, great numbers, fully occupied, great location, all the boxes checked, right? But that came to us through a relationship. And most of our deals come that way. Nick was talking about it. You always preach it, Tim, and we're just another living proof of that. So our focus and what we're seeing is more of what you guys are saying, right? We create our own economy. So on the macro level, on the public, the interest rates and all that, we still buy properties at 2% interest, 3% interest, back to what Nick was saying, getting creative and custom crafting solution-based win-win scenarios. And really, that's been one of the major keys to our success, not only in the acquisition of properties we have, but moving forward and really multiplying our portfolio in a healthy, efficient way, where it's not a big drag on our time, right? Doing it efficiently and in those win-win scenarios and focusing on that. So the couple points I wrote down that tie into that is riches flow through relationships. You guys have heard a lot of that, but it's so true. Like, we can't say it enough. So where's your portfolio of people? That's my question for you to think about today. Everybody talks about
that's a great thought, man. I like that.
Yeah, because everybody talks about their
people.
They're focused on a portfolio of properties, and to me, that's backwards thinking. It's cart before the horse. Our focus is, what does our portfolio of people look like? I mean, Tim's one of those, and his Nick. I mean, these are amazing assets of relationships, and our network of relationships, it's infinite beyond any amount of money, right? He's been in to speak to our students, teach our students, pour in. I mean, how valuable. So I would say, number one, focus on, take inventory. Where is your portfolio of people at today, and how to always be improving and refining and dialing up the value there. And only one result will happen. Abundance will continue to flow and multiply in your life, your properties, all of it, in a more enjoyable, fun, fast, and easy way that way. And then the other thing I'll leave you guys with is, and anything else that we all were here to do, but I want to make sure I always tell people this, because it's been a big key for us, not just us, but our students. Our students, just like Tim's, I mean, our students have acquired millions of dollars worth of income pumping properties. At the core, this is one of the cores that we teach and Tim teaches. We're all basically confirming these things, but I call it the multi-million-dollar questions. Whether you're a beginner or wherever you're at, here's two multi-million-dollar questions that should be a part of your consistent conversation daily. Who do you know that owns rental properties? And most people hear that and they ask it wrong, and they'll add to it. And they'll say, who do you know that owns properties that they want to sell or they might want to sell? That's, to me, the wrong question. It's, who do you know that owns rental properties, period. And then getting their contact info, calling them to see how you can collaborate and partner, and then asking them the other multi-million-dollar question. And this is how we create our own economy. We have zero competition. We're buying properties that are not for sale. Focus on buying properties that are not for sale, right? Not solely, but as a big part of what you do, working smarter than harder. And then the multi-million-dollar question to them then is, that's why this 45 unit is, hey, Johnny, was talking to your niece, Sally. She's awesome. I wanted to reach out to you because my partners and I are buying properties. Just want to see how we might be able to do business together, collaborate. What are you looking for? How can we refer people to you? Whatever, seek to serve them. And then ask the question, are you open to selling any or all of your properties? And the last part that I'll say to that, this is key, because a lot of you guys listening, if you're earlier in investing, you might get that far and do it. But then when they say, well, I have 100 rental houses, or I have 1,000 apartments, and they say, actually, I would sell half of them right now. And you're like, wow, man, that's a great opportunity for someone else. You guys, this is the biggest key I could tell anyone. We have a student, Caleb, he's 20 years old. He just turned 21. In his first 2 months, he was 20 years old. In his first 2 months with us as a student, he closed on 2 different deals, a 16 unit off market and a 29 unit blended portfolio of small multifamily and some houses, turnkey, 100% rented, cash overflow from day one net. He did that with $0 out of pocket, 0 credit, and he's a 50% owner on all of it. He stepped into hundreds of thousands of dollars of instant equity day one. Legacy, he's done. Him and his wife, they're married now. Though they don't have to work ever again in their life, their children, their whole just on his first 2 deals in 2 months. Why am I saying that? If he would have thought how most people think when he sourced the deals on a post on Facebook, and these people, these off-market properties, are, oh, that's going to be a good opportunity for someone else who has the capacity of money or knowledge or experience. He didn't do that. He did what Tim is here always educating and teaching everybody and all of us. He literally got resourceful and asked one question. You guys got to write this down. Who not what and how. Who could be someone who might be able to be interested, help me? And that was us. We were his who. We came in, funded it, did everything else. And now he's a 50% owner on 45 turnkey rentals, and he's just starting. So I can say a lot more. You see, I get excited, man. But thank you guys for what you do. It's an honor to be a part of it. And you guys are just changing lives more than you realize. And we're one of those. So I want you guys to always know that.
I appreciate you, brother. No, I think, I mean, what you said, for everybody who's listening, like, success leaves clues, right? This isn't like something, or somebody's got some tweak or something that they don't know, or some secret that's being held. Like, you hear it over and over and over again. It's about relationships. It's about, who do you know? Who do you know who owns rental properties? Who do you know who co-sponsors loans for rental properties? Like, Nick talked about this being a team sport as opposed to an individual sport. Like, it's assumed that there's going to be multiple partners in a commercial property, right? Somebody's going to sign on the loan, somebody's going to raise some money and handle the operating, or the capital management, investor relations. Somebody's going to handle operations. Maybe somebody sourced it, and you carve it up a few different ways. And then the key here is what David said, which is all about who can fill each one of those holes, each one of those roles for you in the deals that you're doing. So great takeaways, man. Bringing the heat for sure. Bobby Tyndall, tell me what's working for you, man. How are you finding deals? How are you negotiating deals? Once you find one on the street, you got the one across the street, and the one next door to that. Like, what do those conversations look like? How are you making traction with these sellers today?
Man, for us, it's all about finding the situations and solving people's problems. And I ditto everything you guys have said, everything Nick brought in with the PowerPoint presentation. Those are all of our marketing channels we use as well. You know, Dan, you've been killing it out there. I love following you and being in the same room with you guys. And David, that's great insight this morning, man. I just love everything you just said. I wish I could just repeat it again. But, you know, again, I just want to answer people's questions, and I want to be able to help people, you know, find out how to find their deals. And for us, this particular property was a seller finance deal that we got. And it was just talking to people. People follow us on social media, and they see that we are flippers and that we're actually in the market looking for houses. And we tell people all the time, we just ask them, hey, do you have anything that you can sell? And boom, they just reach out to us. And next thing you know, we're structuring an offer. So the one across the street, same situation. It's been vacant for a long time. We've seen it. We've skip traced it. We've contacted the owner, and now we're in negotiations on that one as well. So, I mean, you just gotta act. But as you're acting, be consistent and try to find those situations so you can actually help someone out of their deals.
Love it, man. So tell me about the deal that you're sitting in right now.
So this particular property was a lender that was actually investing in another deal on a property, and she had a rental. This was a rental property. So the tenant was here, and the tenant wasn't paying. She was telling me all the problems and pains that she was having with the tenant in the relationship. And she really was just ready to be away from it. She just wanted to wipe her hands clean and figure out a way to just unload this property. But the problem is that I knew that if I needed to take care of my lender and give her the best price, I needed to do a creative finance solution. So we actually created about 5 different seller finance and lease option offers. And we talked through those across the dinner table. And she's an older lender of ours, so you have to make sure that you are able to explain things in an articulate manner so people can understand what they're actually agreeing to, and put it in words that everybody can kind of get behind. And then I created the offers to where it would solve all of her dilemmas and give her cash flow during the entire process. And so we agreed to the price, we agreed to the terms, we sent it to the attorney's office and closed on it within a couple of weeks. So it was really a smooth process.
Love it, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we're coming down, kind of rounding third base on the discussion panel. You guys are all bringing great insights. I'd like to spend maybe 2 minutes on each one of you guys saying, hey, here's like the one strategy, the one technique, the one idea, the one thing that I would implement if I'm in acquisition mode right now in 2024 and I want to get a deal in the next 90 days. I think that's important. I think people are like, oh, I want to buy 100 doors in 2024. Okay, that's cool. You know what I like doing is like, dude, if there was a gun to my head and I had to do it in the next 60 days, how would I do it? Right? Because I think giving yourself 12 months of timeline, it's like, what's it, Parkinson's rule, where like you do it in the last 5% of the time given, of the time allotted, is when all the effort and all the results come. So if you shorten the timeline, say, hey, instead of doing this in the next 12 months, how do I do it in the next 45 days, take down a deal and lock down 100 doors? How would I do that? What are the action steps that I would need to do, that I need to take in order to make that happen and buy a deal in Q1 2024? Right? That's the question that I want answered. So Constantino, I want to start with you, brother.
Great. First point I want to make is, guys, we can look at the macro, and you asked me a question, Tim, about that. We can look at the macroeconomics all day long. We live and operate in the micro. So I bought most of my big deals in the hottest real estate market out there, and I got smoking deals. My last 258 unit deal, I bought for $18,000 a unit. We bought that for $4.6 million, and it appraised for $13 million just 18 months later. So two things: you cannot let the macroeconomics enter your head. You need to operate in the micro. You also need to let every single person know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, no one else is going to know what to bring you from a deal flow standpoint. So if you don't know, they're not going to know, and you're not going to get those word of mouth deals that Nick and Tim and David and Bobby are all talking about. That is the lifeblood of getting deal flow. But if you're talking about in the next 90 days, you got to start from scratch. Number one, I would utilize social media. I use social media to let people know what I'm looking for, but also let people know that they can invest with us. So use social media, put it out there, what you're looking for. And number two, find a way to download a list. I mean, we've used Reonomy for downloading lists for multifamily because that's what we're focused on. I used to use, what's the CoreLogix one? Listsource.com to download all my single family and small multifamily lists. You can download lists, and you could do outbound mail. Mail is a great way to do it. Just understand that once you stop mailing, those leads stop coming in. But mail's a perfect way to do that. There's various companies out there like REI, Print Mail, and stuff like that. I'm not affiliated with them, so no affiliate or anything like that. But you can get people to give you lists and mail those for you and just give you leads. So I would do that, some cold outreach stuff, and then also just go network at your local RIA groups. It's not that hard, guys. Just go to your local RIA meetings and network with people and let them know what you're talking about. And those are just easy steps that you can take within the next 90 days. Another thing that I think is really cool is I used to keep track of all the wholesale deals that were advertised and what price they were. Then I would come back in 90 or 100 days, 180 days, and plot what they actually sold for to see what that wholesaler spread is. So it might be not a 90-day thing, but it's a great hack to understand where the market is on the stuff that's being wholesaled in your market. So track what it's being advertised for, track what it actually sells for, public data, and see what the wholesaler spread is. And that's a really good hack so that you can learn the market and what the spreads are.
I love that, man. I think what you mentioned was several different strategies that are both hunting strategies and fishing strategies, right? Like there's many things on that list that Nick had shared, guys, that are things that you can start doing in order to get leads coming into you, but you got to wait for the fish to bite. That's a little bit slower, but it's things that you want to be doing, talking about who you are, what you do, and it's kind of a timing thing based on how many lures you have in the water and how many bite and what your odds are that way. Versus hunting strategies. I like the hunting strategies, especially getting started when you start getting aggressive. It's like, let me go and find the kill, right? Let me go and find the deal. And there's things that you can do that are very quantifiable, like banging out phone calls, banging out emails, right? How many text messages did you send out today? How many offers did you make today? Those are quantifiable, controllable measures, KPIs that you can follow that then can create predictable results in your business over time, right? And so, hey, I made 100 offers. I got one deal out of it. Great. If I want 2 deals next month, I need to make 200 offers, right? There's a ratio that appears, and now you have predictable results in your business. That's a really important point. So, Dan, great takeaways, man. Bobby Tyndall, how about you, brother?
Yeah, man, we actually started doing a lot more driving for dollars and expanding our driving team. Our goal is to get over 300
Hunting
drivers in the
techniques,
next
right?
6
Getting
months.
after it. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, what we'll do is we'll mark those leads and we'll send them a piece of mail, but we'll also cold call them as well. And we started doing some ringless voicemail drops using Sly Broadcast recently, and we've been able to get text like right away, right back. So yeah, I'm interested in selling that property. So I think it's a variety of little things here and there, like you said, fishing for leads, but then going out consistently and finding those and getting in the right rooms with the right people and telling people what you're looking for is all gold right here. But yeah, we've actually put in sort of an overhaul on our wholesaling engine just to kind of get us a lot more leads coming in this year. And it's already starting to see the results already. So I think we can probably close some deals in the next 30 to 60 days just based on what we've done in the last 2 weeks.
Love it, man. And by the way, driving for dollars, you can drive for dollars for houses, look for tall grass, boarded up windows, and you can do the exact same thing for commercial property. Tall grass, boarded up windows, vacant retail spaces. Like there's so many different ways. And then you just got to pick up the phone, do the exact same just kind of research and skip trace their contact information, send them an email, send them a text message, make a phone call to them, send them a letter, right? Whatever that ends up looking like, there's there's a million different strategies out there. So it's good. Great takeaways, man. David. Oh, good.
This is a South Carolina foreclosure heat map. So, you know, I know it's probably different with the camera, but basically looking at the different counties where all the foreclosures are filed. So you can kind of target down to specific areas within your state.
I love that. Love that. And those tools are out there. So I see Jed had posted all your guys' pictures over here. Click it in the chat box, click on that, and it has everybody's Instagram handle. So you got everybody on there. Make sure you're following these guys. If anybody said something that really stirred something up for you, please send them a message, shoot them a DM on Facebook or Instagram, and make sure that you're following these guys. David, bring us home, bud.
All right, man. You guys, I got to say this. I love being here just learning. I've got so many notes. And so the biggest key I could tell anyone is be a lifelong learner. Why is Tim, why are these guys, why is anybody who's a great leader such a great leader? They're the greatest learners, I mean, in my mind. So I just love being here, always learning. There's always keys and levers to up level. But so yeah, on your question, Tim, a couple things I wrote down. If you're looking for the biggest results in the shortest amount of time, which I think most people, that's why they're here, right? High leverage. I mean, again, you're hearing it said in different ways, but high leverage, right? So what are those different ways to up level your leverage? How did Caleb at 20 years old in 2 months go out and acquire 2 deals, close on them, 45 units? High leverage. He leveraged Facebook. He posted on Facebook, like Tim has done an amazing. I found Tim years ago through Facebook. He's on Facebook talking to me. I'm like, hey, that's a cool dude. I want to get with him, right? So you guys hear Tim preach all the time, but it's true. This is another example. Caleb made a post on Facebook. Who do you know that owns properties? That turned into the 16 unit. He got the data, brought it to the us, and then we took it from there and partnered. He leveraged on the other one, the 29 unit portfolio, he leveraged one relationship, which was, again, leverage to me, high leverage isn't just a relationship. Think about, so here's what I wrote to tie into that. With high leverage, who owns the most properties in your market? Okay, that's higher leverage than just a person. So who owns the most properties in your market? And also who knows the people who own the most properties? That's a high leverage point for you. Have a conversation with the person who's lived in that market. They could be the pastor that knows everybody, the mayor, whoever it is, those leaders in that town. Build a relationship, and they're the who. That's high leverage for you. That opens up opportunities right now. And you attract what you focus on. So powerful. Dan, Bobby, what you guys are sharing, I mean, it's again kind of the same things, but maybe in different angles. But you attract what you focus on and talk about, because people call it the law of attraction, and it is real. It's true. We've lived this for years. These guys, same thing. Because though it's not just a thought thing, when you focus on it, your words and actions are going to follow that vision and that thought. And it filters out everything else, all the noise and distractions. And so that's how you can live in higher levels of leverage that way. So that would be my biggest points on your question there on how can you collapse time on itself and do bigger steps than you ever have before now, not someday off in the future, literally right now, today, in the next 30, 60 days. And man, again, thank you guys for leading the way on all that, because again, we're living proof of doing that. Didn't matter. Over 15 years of building a portfolio which we've always been part-time investors because we live life full-time. So my wife and I and our 2.5-year-old, but think about that, guys. In the last 2 years, we've been in Tim's mastermind. After 15 years of being financially free and building a portfolio of rental properties, last year alone, we almost tripled our portfolio number of units, value, market value. I mean, guys, that's high leverage. High leverage was us getting in and staying in and engaging, doing whatever it takes. We're at all the summits. Tim will tell you, like that. Like that's high leverage for us to get close proximity to those people.
And you're going to grow it. Like, it's one thing to go from a small number of units to hey, you can go from 1 unit to 2 units to double your portfolio. You already have a portfolio that's pretty substantial, right? And you've tripled it last year. You're going to double again this year, right? Like it goes to speak at, but you're somebody who's coachable. You're somebody who shows up. You make sure that you're in the room. You take action on the stuff and the value, right? And I would venture to say that the vast majority of the people who are on this would do that too, right? Are going to actually take action on it. But you guys got to do it, right? You got to get the information and actually move on it. And I love the leverage points that you're talking about is the who. Who can co-sponsor my loan, right? One of the questions over here is, what happens if I'm out of country? I have an American LLC, but how can I get financing on that? You find somebody local who can sponsor the loan on your behalf. And you kick them 10, 20, 30%, whatever it is, of the equity in the deal, and let somebody else. You find the who to help with the how. You find the who to help find the deals. You find the who to help the operations. You find the who to help raise the capital. Right? There's a who for every single bottleneck that you could be facing in this business. So if you guys could, let's give them some love in the chat box. Thank you guys so much for being here. Really appreciate you guys. We're going to dive into more content about underwriting these deals. So we've talked in the first hour of this about how these deals come into your inbox. The second hour is going to be about how do you underwrite? What do you do? AJ's asked, what if there's no financials? How do I even know if it's a good deal or not a good deal? Let's go dive into it right now. So appreciate you guys. Love you guys. We'll see you guys actually at the summit in New Orleans.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Great job with the Q&A panel. Let's talk about underwriting commercial deals. This is such a simple concept. If you've been in real estate for any time at all, you might have seen this, but it works on single family rentals. This is probably where you've seen it, but it also works on multifamily rentals, and it probably works in a better way for multifamily rentals. So it's called the 1%. And what this means is you take the stabilized total monthly market rents, and whatever it can potentially rent for on a monthly basis. And then you divide it by your all-in cost. You take purchase price, renovation cost, holding cost, your all-in cost. And if your rent is equal to or greater than 1%, then the deal should cash flow. So let me give you an example here. I'm going to actually get ready for this. Here's how tech savvy I am. I'm bringing out Microsoft Paint. So here's the for a single family, right? Hang on a second. This might not work because I don't know. My 1-year-old was climbing on my desk, and now my pen doesn't work on this thing. Is this it? Oh, there it is. That was it. Okay. Undo that. All right. Let's say you have a house that rents for $800 per month. Okay, that's the monthly rent. You are purchase price is $60K. Rehab is $15K, and carrying cost until you can get it occupied is $5K. What does that equal? $80K. So you take $800 divided by $80,000 equals 1%. Does that make sense? Everybody gets this, right? Okay, let's do another one. Let's do it with an apartment complex, though. New, don't save. So let's say I have an apartment building. Let's say my apartment building, I'm gonna use simple numbers. Hang on, I keep on touching the side of the screen. Sorry, guys. So I have a 10-unit apartment, and let's just assume they're all the same. Let's assume they rent for, and I'm going off of the stabilized market rent. Okay, I'm not going off of the person who's in there right now and they haven't had their rent increase or whatever. They've been there for 18 years. They also have yellow carpet and yellow walls and burn marks everywhere and the carpet and all this other stuff, right? I'm not going off that person. I'm going off of whatever the stabilized market rents are, assuming I have a clean, safe, functional unit. So if I have a 10-unit apartment and each unit is $900 a month, equals, that's $9,000 of gross potential rents. So you can also reverse engineer this. I can say if I have $9,000 of gross potential rents divided by 0.01, 1%, that gives me a price point of $900,000. All in is what I can be all into this with. And then you can just reverse engineer it. Okay, hey, I took the contractors through. I got to update the panels. It needs paint, flooring, fixtures. It needs $100K of work. All right, so I need to reduce this by $100,000. And it's going to be completely vacant for 4 months while I renovate it and lease it all back up. So 4 months, and it's going to cost me $5,000 a month in carrying cost, whatever it is. So it's going to be $20K of carry. That's the carrying cost. And another $20K over here. That means you got $780,000 is your maximum allowable offer. You guys see that? You see how simple that is? I did that in 2 minutes. And this isn't the number one, the only way to underwrite an apartment building, but it allows you to have 100 deals come across your desk and quickly rip through them very, very fast. And quickly look at, do I spend more time on this or do I not spend more time on this? And here's what I've learned. The faster you can sort through deals, the quicker you get to deals, the quicker you get to the seller of a deal, and the quicker you get to an actual contract and a deal being made. So whoever sorts fastest typically gets the deal because everybody else is visiting the property and they have a 15-page spreadsheet that they're filling in and analyzing before they ever even make an offer or before they ever really dive deeper into talking with the seller or asking about terms or whatever else, right? The quicker you can get to the seller, the quicker you can get to having a conversation with them on what does, hey, you're asking 850, I'd be closer to 750, 775. Can we continue that conversation? And they say, yeah, I can. Great. Versus somebody else who's trying to take 2 days of their life to underwrite this deal, you're able to get in there and start having that deal-making conversation way sooner because you can sort faster than anybody else can. Does that make sense? And AJ, to answer your question, bud, did I have any of the financials on this deal? No, I don't know what the income is currently. I don't know what the debt service is. I don't know what the taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, management are. And I was still able to just look up what are the market rate rents for a 1-bedroom apartment in this part of town. We use a website called Rentometer, Rentometer, rentometer.com. And you can take a 1-mile radius, 3-mile radius, 5-mile radius, single family house, apartment, 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, whatever. And it'll give you in that radius a range of what the rents are. It'll give you a median. It'll give you the mean and the median. Right. So the average and then what the right in the middle is of everything else that's in there. And it'll give you a good idea of what you can get on rent. Like when you're flipping a house, Bobby Tyndall's flipping a house. Does he care about what it's worth today? No, he cares about what it can be worth Once it's renovated and fixed up and stabilized, and somebody comes in and they want to buy a retail price in that neighborhood, right? But he needs to know what he can buy it for, right? Once he knows that number, then he can reverse engineer the math. Same exact thing here. You can reverse engineer the math once you know what the market rate rents are, how many units it is, and guess what? Now you can get at least a ballpark number of what you could be into this thing for. All right. Hopefully that's helpful. That's a quick snapshot of it. And I think the most important thing to understand today is the cash flow analysis when looking at underwriting a deal. With interest rates going up and down, and when you can put your money in a savings account, a money market savings account, they're paying you 4% on it. Private money wants a little bit more money. You might not be able to raise capital at a 6% or 8% preferred return anymore from your private investors. You might have to pay them 10 or 12%. So how does all that come into play when you're looking at a deal and not knowing what the interest rates and stuff are? So this is what matters. Making sure that your net operating income, your stabilized net operating income, is larger than what your cost of carrying, what your capital cost of capital and your carrying cost is going to be. So simple. How do you calculate net operating income? Hopefully you guys know how to do this, but just in case, this is I know that there's these long pages of profit and loss statements for most multifamily projects. Everything falls into this. What is the income? And then taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, and management. That's it. And when you take the total income, and that might be rents and storage income and parking income and utility reimbursement income, and maybe there's a whole bunch of other types of incomes. Add up all the incomes. Then you take the expenses. And I know that there's a lot of line items, and there's payroll, and there's general administrative, and there's marketing fees, and there's legal fees, and there's it all goes into either management, maintenance, utilities, insurance, or taxes. And if you don't have these figures, you can typically estimate them. So taxes, dude, you go online and you can look up what the property taxes are and how taxes are assessed there. And you could probably talk to your mortgage broker and they would give you an idea of what they would be reassessed at, right? Assuming you're buying it, transacting it in a traditional manner, and you're not just buying the LLC. Good news about buying an LLC, you can actually keep the taxes down potentially, or if you're assuming somebody's mortgage. So that's good news. Insurance. Even if you don't have insurance, you just send it to your insurance agent and have them give you an insurance quote. Simple enough. Utilities. You find out if it's separately metered or individually or house metered. And based on that, you can get a good idea of what the utility cost is going to be. That's an easy thing to get from the seller, though. It's just, hey, send me all your utility bills. Maintenance. Maintenance is going to have to be a ballpark number. And it's going to depend on how much money you're putting into the property. Are you changing out all the HVACs? Are you putting a new roof on? Are you putting in flooring, paint, fixtures, new windows, new doors, all those things? Because if you are, then you're going to have more predictable and a lower maintenance cost on an ongoing basis. If you're just buying it as is, leaving it as is, and saying, hey, I'm going to take care of the maintenance stuff as it pops up, that's okay too. You don't need as much money up front, but realize your maintenance cost is going to be a lot more than if you made those improvements on the front end. And then management. Management, depending on fees and what the staff salaries look like and everything else, are probably going to range somewhere around 10 to 15%. And hopefully not that much. Hopefully it's 8 to 12% is what your management expense, overall management expense is going to be. All right, so you take the total income minus all your expenses equals the net operating income. Once you have the net operating income, you know how much cash there's going to be in order to pay your debt service and your capital costs after that. So let's calculate the cost of capital. Here's what this says. Take your total cost. Let's say you're buying something for $1 million and there's financing on it at 60% loan to value, or you can get let's use 70%. Let's say you can get a 70% loan on that new acquisition. So you're buying it for $1 million. You're going to get a 70% loan. So that means your financing amount is $700,000. Simple enough. You following me here? That means you take the total cost and how much you need for the down payment. You need 30% for the down payment. And this is assuming you're rolling in your renovation costs and any carrying costs and everything all into this. Maybe you're going to raise 40% because you need the 30% for the down payment and another 10% for carrying cost and miscellaneous operating capital. Right. So depending on what the numbers are, you just kind of you calculate it from $1 million times 30% down, which means I got to bring $300,000 for the down payment. Okay. So you take that financing rate of your first mortgage, whatever the bank's going to give you, times the financing amount. And then you add that to whatever your private money rate is times your down payment amount. All right. So let me just put it in one of these again. Hang on. You don't save. All right, so here's all I'm doing. I'm buying a deal for $1 million. I got a 70% loan, and I have 30% down. Let's just assume it's a stable deal. That means all I did is I took 1 million times 0.7, 70% equals $700,000 for my senior loan amount. Then I took 1 million times 0.3%, 30% of the down payment is 300K for my down payment amount. If my primary loan is at let's call it a 6% interest rate, and I'm raising money from my investors at a 10% interest rate. So that's going to cost me $30,000 a year to my investors. And this is going to cost me, was that $42,000 a year in mortgage payments. If you add those up, that's $72,000 of debt service. Does that make sense? That's my cost of capital. And again, I'm using simple interest. This isn't amortized or anything along those lines. I'm just giving you guys basic parameters, and then you can dive deeper into it if it's fully amortized, or if you got to raise a little bit more money for carrying costs or operating capital or whatever that ends up being. But I want to give you the general framework, and then you plug in the numbers as you see fit. So here's what I've done. I found out that this $1 million building that I'm buying at a 7.5% cap rate. Cap rate's a return on investment, or also known as an unleveraged yield. If I bought this at a 7.5% cap rate, it means if I bought it for $1 million, it would yield me 7.5% return, which means 7.5% of $1 million is 75K net operating income. All right. That means my NOI and my cost of capital. My NOI is 75K and my cost of capital is 72K. And look at my NOI is greater than my cost of capital. That's right there. That is what matters. And so this will cash flow positive once it's stabilized. Not only will it cash flow positive once it's stabilized, in year 2 or year 3 or year 4, this cost of capital is going to stay steady, right? But the NOI, as you raise rents, should be going up. And so you're going to make even more of a differential, and you'll increase your cash flow even more positively. If you can get it cash flow positive in the first year, you'd be in a really good position, right? And that's what we're looking at currently with these with the varying interest rate environment. Because I know that interest rates are only temporary, but the property is forever. And if I can get into a reasonable deal, if I can either build my balance sheet, it could be a stepping stone into a new deal, or this is something I want to hold for the next 100 years, if I can get it cash flow positive, then I know that eventually I could refinance at a lower interest rate. Because if I can ride this thing out for another 3, 4, 5 years, I can always refinance at a lower interest rate, or refinance, maybe cash out my investors, and be able to keep the property long term. I'm looking at things like that, and that to me is what's important in this market. And what does a new loan look like? That's important. What does the existing loan look like? The whole subject too of taking over mortgages, it's called assuming a loan in commercial real estate. It's like standard operating procedure, especially when everybody refinanced over the past few years. Like I got a deal in Oklahoma right now. We refinanced it 2020 at 3.11% interest rate. 3.1% interest rate. It's an assumable loan. So somebody doesn't have to come in and put a 6%, 7% loan on this deal. They can take over my loan at 3.1%, which allows me to get a higher price point on that property because their cost of capital is lower. Does that make sense? Let me share my screen again. Go back to this. So here's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at a new deal. I'm trying to control the controllables. There's a lot of things outside of our control. What can we control? Well, how can we reduce the all-in cost? What contributes to the all-in cost? Purchase price, renovations, and carrying costs. So how can I reduce those things? Now, renovations are pretty standard, right? You can scale it back. Instead of putting granite countertops in, you put Formica in. Yeah, there's things like that you can do. Find cheaper carpet or cheaper LVP flooring or things along those lines when you're turning these rental units. Standardizing all the flooring, standardizing all the all the flooring, all the paint colors, all the fixtures. It's all going to be exactly the same, so that way you can buy in bulk all the exact same paint, and you can reuse the exact same paint over and over and over again, and it reduces your costs. It makes you more efficient in the renovation costs, right? You can always negotiate a deeper discount on the purchase price. The carrying costs, maybe you give a bonus to the contractor to get things done in a shorter amount of time, because if you got 50 vacant units at $1,000 a piece, that's 50 grand a month in lost revenue. And if it's going to take 6 months, that's $300,000 of lost revenue. Versus going to your contractor and saying, hey, if you can get done 2 months faster, I'll give you a $25,000 bonus. Why would you ever do that? Well, I do it because they can get it done in a faster timeline, and I'm going to make an extra $100,000, 50 grand a month times 2 months of revenue. So for me, being in this business, time is far more valuable than cost. The carrying cost is going to be more expensive than the cost to renovate something. If you're building something new, or if you're doing a heavy value add renovation, you want to see, like, how can I expedite the rent readiness of my units? Maybe I'm moving executive and I take on a salary and pay somebody 10 grand a month in order to get this done in 4 months, but they move on site, they kick the tables and flip shit every single day with the contractors to make sure things are moving along faster. And that coming online saves me another 100. I can get them online faster, and I can make an extra $100,000 of revenue, right? Because they're on 2 months sooner. So it makes sense to pay somebody 10 grand a month for 4 months, right? Like, I'm looking at things like that all the time. How do I reduce my all-in cost? Increasing your income. A lot of people look at multifamily and they only look at the rental rate increase. And so the rental rate increase is one thing, but there's other components. What if you fenced in the parking and you charged for off-street parking and gated parking? What if you added in a you took one of the old tennis courts and instead you turned it into a pet run, and now you attract pet owners who then pay pet fees and pay an increased rental rate because of their pets. Now you're increasing income. There's 1,000 different ways you can do that. Maybe you have a building that's on a major road with a lot of traffic, and you paint something on the side of the building that's some sort of advertisement space, and you get an extra $1,000 a month because of that. There's 1,000 different things that you can do in order to increase income. Decreasing expenses. appealing the property taxes, shopping the insurance, tightening up, doing the renovations on the front end so that way your maintenance expense is less. Putting in low flow shower heads and faucets and fixtures and toilets to reduce your water bills and reduce your sewer bills. Putting in LED lights in order to reduce your light bills, right? There's a lot of things you can do in order to reduce your expenses as well. Finding cheaper financing, right? Going to a seller and saying, hey, I'll give you your price, but I need you to give me my terms. On that building that I mentioned earlier, the 200 unit that I'm going to be selling, it's a $15 million purchase price. There's debt in place of $10 million already at 6%. I'm saying, hey, you only have to bring 8% down, right? So that's $1.2 million. Whatever their cost is what it is. Whether that's their own cash or they're raising money from their investors. And then there's a delta of about $3 million or 3.8 million. Yeah, $3.8 million. I'm going to carry that back because I'm going to get my purchase price or my sale price, but I got to offer good terms, right? So I'm going to take that $3.8 million. I'm going to charge 8%, but no payments. So reduce it for 3 years. So 8%, it'll accrue, but then they come over in year 3, they have 3 years to bump up rents and to increase revenue. And they're going to be cash flowing positive in a much better position 3 years from now than they will be today, right? That's a way that I can sell a property and get my price point, or it's a way that I can use to buy a property and get into a good deal and negotiate good terms with the seller. Asking if there's assumable debt in place, right? Looking at all those kinds of things. A lower preferred return to your investors. Maybe you pay your investors 5% now, let's say they want 10%. Say, hey, I got to go through the value add phase, or it's new construction or whatever. I can't pay 10% right now. Let me pay you 5% as we go, and then I'll let the other 5% accrue. Right now, your cost of capital is lower because you're paying 5%. The other 5% is accruing, or extending the investment timeline. Right, if you have a longer timeline, it allows you to then bump up rents over time and create much more of a spread. You're paying down principal on the loan, and the property value is increasing. Always look for ways to increase income and decrease expenses. That is the key. And not looking at it for what it is, but looking at it for what it can be. Nick Burton, we actually have a cash flow calculator for you guys. We'll send it to everybody who registered. If you didn't register, go and register. And we will send you our cash flow calculator for free. You can utilize it where you just plug in a couple of these numbers, and it'll tell you if it's going to cash flow positive or not, or like how much you're going to need for carrying costs and all that kind of stuff. So Nick, if you want to spend a minute on, or I don't know, spend up to 5 minutes on that, and then we'll do 20 minutes of Q&A to close this thing out. Sound good?
Yeah. Yep. I can be pretty quick with it. I just dropped, we'll email it out to you guys, the link to it as well. That's also just our opt-in form that, you guys can get it from there as well. Cool. Yeah. I just want to go over this real quick with you guys. Sure. All right, cool. All right. So here is the cash flow calculator that we use for a snapshot view of how a property will perform. This is free for you guys. Just follow that link and download it. Basically, anything in dark blue is an input. Okay. So you would go ahead and enter in the purchase price. So let's just say it's a $5 million deal. The gross rental income is, let's say it's 820,000. So this is, hey, you can plug in what it's currently cash flowing, or you can also plug in what the pro forma, what it could be cash flowing. So you can see a current versus stabilized numbers here. Other income, hey, let's say they bring in $7,000 on laundry every single year. So again, these are yearly numbers. Taxes, let's say it's $27,000 a year. Insurance has been crazy. Let's say it is I don't know, $45,000 a year in insurance. Maintenance costs, if they don't have this down as you can use their actuals, or you could use like 8% of this gross annual income if you'd like to do that. But let's just say it's $14,000 a year. Management, hey, they're doing, let's just say it's $75,000 a year. And utilities are 22,000. So these are, you're going to be plugging in actuals. Okay. Now here's where we can actually structure this on how, hey, are we going to go to the bank and get a loan, or Fannie, Freddie, or something like that? How much money are we going to have to raise? And how much money is the seller going to carry back? And we can actually change those percentages. So let's say, and it'll calculate down here and then spit out here. So let's say we're going to get a loan for 75%. Okay. Then let's say we're going to raise 10% of the purchase price, and the seller is actually willing to carry back 15% of the purchase price. Okay. The investor, this 10%, let's say we raise that money at 8%. Okay. So it's taking, hey, 10% of purchase price is 500,000, 8% preferred payment. Our monthly payment is $3,333, and we're paying $40,000 annually. Our mortgage down here, let's say we're getting a bank loan at, let's just say 7.5%. It's a 10-year term, amortized over 30 years. And then we have our seller carry. Let's say the seller's actually open to carrying back 15%. Let's just say 2%. Okay. You might as well shoot for the moon. And they'll match the senior loan terms, 10-year term, 30-year amortization. Now you could play around with these being interest only. We don't have that in this specific calculator. We have that in our advanced calculator and legacy family, but absolutely something you can add in yourself if you would like. So let's see how this plays out. Okay. Our annual income, it's bringing in $827,000, right? $827,000. Our annual expenses are $183,000, which is a very low expense ratio. It'd probably be closer to like 40%. But net operating income, $644,000. Annual debt. So this is going to be all three of these combined, okay? It's going to be all three of these. I don't think annual debt has one of these in here, actually. Annual debt is only, I think so. 387, 314 plus 33. Yeah, 387. And our annual cash flow. So this is after all expenses and all debt. So all your investor payments, your mortgage payments, and your owner financing payments, you'll be cash flowing $256,000 a year after everything. If these were, and that could be day one, or you could plug in pro forma numbers as well, and have those side by side, just save some screenshots. So super, super easy to use. I recommend just diving into this and messing around with it, tweaking the numbers, but that's it. I should do probably a little like a loom on how to use it, but just mess around with the numbers in blue. Don't touch anything else, and it should spit out an idea of what that annual cash flow should look like. So use this, plug in the numbers, and then if it checks out on here, then it's time to do a little bit of a deeper analysis. But you can just plug in the seller's numbers here just to see if it even is in the ballpark. So that's all I got, guys.
Man.
Pretty simple.
No, is my sound okay still?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think the key takeaway here is you can overly complicate things, and it doesn't need to be overly complicated. Like there's plenty of detail that you can get in order to figure out whether this is something that you want to move forward with or not, right? Without spending a half a day or 2 days of your life underwriting deals and saying, I need to go and see it before I do. Like, no, you're never going to get deals if you go and do that first. You got to go and start getting to the conversation of what does it take? What do the terms look like in order to get this deal done with the seller or with the seller's exclusive broker immediately? The sooner you can get there, the sooner you're going to be able to, or the more likely you're going to be able to take more deals down. And so that's why we keep it simple. We don't see a single deal until we actually come to terms on it. We essentially get a letter of intent accepted. Once we get an LOI accepted, then we'll go out and take a look at it. Because otherwise, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you're not going to lie to me, right? You're telling me the truth on this thing. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to take your word for what it is. Here's what I have set up. Blah, blah, blah. Great. And then I'll go and take a look at it. And then you can go take a look at it. And then it gives you a reason to go back to them if need be, after the inspection of saying, hey, you told me everything was good to go, but this is 25 years old. The roof is falling off. Like there's wood rot everywhere. There's this and this. Like, what are we going to do about this? You told me it was good to go. Okay, well, how about I give you a credit, right? And then all of a sudden it turns into like you were able to tie up the deal, lock it down, and then be able to go and take a look at it and negotiate it from there if need be. Now, we also don't lock things up with the intent of going to negotiate and renegotiate on things. If it's in good shape, we're closing on good deals. I don't try to go out and beat up sellers. I try to hit base hits all day. I want to maintain a good reputation because this is a long game. And as many properties are out there, your name and your reputation is a big deal and can get smeared pretty quickly or can grow pretty quickly as somebody who transacts on difficult deals, who can raise their money, who can do what they say they're going to do and actually closes without running sellers through the ringer, and so we've gotten a good reputation for that, which is why we get a lot of deals, and this stuff compounds over time. So there's some questions in the chat box, and I want to hit on all those. Before we do, and by the way, if you have more, put them in the chat box. We'll hit on all these over the next 15, 20 minutes here. I want to introduce Caleb Pearson. Caleb is a very good friend of mine. It was his birthday 2 days ago, and we were out to dinner, and I was like, dude, you got to hop on here because you're one of the best deal finders that I know. And he's got some really cool techniques and strategies and softwares that he uses in order to just fire out deals. So, going back to what the question was that I asked the last round of discussion panelists, which is if you had to get a deal done in the next 90 days or Q1 of 2024, and you had to go find a deal, how would you do it? They all had some really, really good strategies. I think one of my answers would have been, dude, where do you find motivated sellers? Asking yourself that question. And is there a more motivated seller than somebody who lists their property, raises their hand, calls up an agent, gives them all the finance, gives them all the details, has them list it and market it on the MLS or on LoopNet or on Crexy, and says, I want to sell my house. I want to sell my property. I want to sell my multifamily. I want to sell my apartment complex. I want to sell, like, there's nobody more motivated than that person, right? So that is a great way to start. I know it's been like kind of almost faux pas to go off the MLS or on LoopNet, but we found some amazing deals on there. And Caleb, you've obviously you have a big brokerage, one of the biggest brokerages or most successful, most top producing brokerages in South Carolina. And I know that software that you guys use pretty heavily is based on firing out offers on MLS properties, right?
Yeah,
Talk about how you guys find deals and how that software and stuff works too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really cool.
Man, these calls are so good. I've gotten so much value out of these first two calls.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I mean, I've been in the retail business for a long time, but where can you go to find the most amount of seller? I mean, you can obviously do direct mail, off market, you can mass text, you can cold call, but you can hop on the MLS and all of those people have raised their hand, said, I want to sell. So why are we not going to them first and getting offers on their plate and figuring out what are they willing to take for the property? You don't know. All you know is that they have an asking price on the property. But from experience, an asking price does not mean that they won't take a discounted offer. But then I thought about it, I'm like, well, there's 5,000 active listings in our MLS. How long would it take me to sit down and type up 5,000 offers on a dot loop or a zip forms? And obviously none of us want to do that. We can hire a VA to do it, but that would take them forever as well. So I spent a couple $100,000 getting one of my buddies to build out this app just for me to do it. So he basically built it out to where we can go in and I can click on all 5,000 listings in our MLS in the Charleston market, and I can send an offer out at 60 cents on the dollar. And that offer is filled out, signed by me, and laid in the listing agent's email at 50, 60 cents on the dollar, whatever I choose. And then you just sit back and collect counters, because y'all been preaching this whole call is get offers out. How many offers can you get out and just swing the bat? And that's what this does, is it just makes it easier.
And by the way, guys, this is like, Caleb uses this, and he was telling me about this. I was like, this is like such a no-brainer type of, it's so efficient, and I get nothing out of this, right? Like, this is, we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, this is a great resource that people, especially right now, because, you know, things are coming back on the market, and, you know, sellers are more motivated. It's the beginning of the year. The market's been changed over the past like 2 years versus, and as there's more listings, especially like this is a great strategy. So high level is, you can say, hey, list all these properties, pull up whatever parameters they are, and fire out all those offers. And we've done this for deals for us on seller financing deals. We've made seller financing offers that way. We found short-term rentals that way and made offers on those, and smaller multifamily. I think it's everything that has to be in the MLS, correct?
In the MLS. So like, it'll work on single families. So anybody that's looking to fix and flip properties, it'll work on. Anybody that's looking to buy and hold, it works fantastically for. Land, you can do vacant land. And then in our MLS, there's mostly small multifamily, like 20 units or less. But you can get offers out on all of them. And again, you just don't know what the sellers are going to take without putting something in their lap. And then you just play the negotiation game all day long. And you'd be surprised at how many really good deals. I mean, we bought an Edisto house. It was listed at $890, and we bought it for $650 on the beach. I mean, that was a hell of a deal.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
Yeah.
Let's all right. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? I'll because I don't want to spend too much time on it, but because I want to answer the Q&A. But what's your best email or?
Yeah, tell them to everybody just go to zoomoffersnow.com. And then if you put your contact information, it'll send you a video, and it's got a 5-minute video of exactly how the app works. It's super simple. I did this for myself, and then we just started. I had friends ask me about it, so we started pushing it around the country.
Cool. Awesome, bro. I want you to answer some of these questions too as we go around, because I know how many doors do you guys have? 300-400?
Yeah, somewhere in that 350 range.
Yep. So, all right, let me go through some of these questions. Financing out of state, out of country. We talked about that. You can always have somebody else locally come in and co-sponsor your loan. You can either pay them a fee. I mean, they'll probably want equity in the deal. They'll probably, like, if it were me, I think I'd probably want around 20% equity to sponsor somebody's loan, depending on if it's the level of risk, the LTV, the type of deal. Is it new construction? Is it stabilized? Is it recourse or non-recourse? All those kinds of things. So depending on what that looks like, but there's people out there all day who have big balance sheets, who have experience, who have the qualifications to get these loans that sponsor loans for active operators all day. So whether you're out of the country or you don't have that balance sheet personally yet where you can qualify, there's people out there. So know that exists. I also saw what happens if they don't have any financials. Well, a lot of those financials you can figure out. You can, again, get quotes. You can ballpark it. I saw Nick had answered. The reality is we bought properties with no financials before, but we go in super low, right? So if you're not going to share financials, I understand, Miss Seller, but here's the thing. I need to bake in some level of risk in there of these different things. I can ballpark it, but if I'm wrong, I need to just make sure that I'm not going to lose my ass on this thing. You don't have to give me financials, but here's what I'm going to do. I got to be at this price point instead of this price point. Does that seem reasonable or not, or whatever? Or you leave and there's no way to sell it.
Yeah, to play onto that, a bank will not give you a loan if financials are terrible.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a smoking deal. Then they'll start having the conversation with you. But if it's only a base hit and they're not giving financials, they're not going to get a loan on it, nor would anybody ever buy that property. It'll never sell.
Yeah, it's much less likely. You need to have a really good borrower who can qualify for a loan for a property that doesn't have financials, but it can be packaged, and we've done it before and given it to the bank and gotten a loan and said, hey, listen, the seller's dipshit, right? Has no financials. It's all on the back of a napkin. They don't pay taxes. But here's what the property taxes are going to end up at. Here's what the insurance quote already came in at. We have the utility bills, thankfully, right? We have, because there's certain things. Sellers in that capacity, they don't claim income, but they will claim all the expenses, right? And so you'll at least be able to understand what the expenses are. And then you know what the market rate rents are. If you could just run it on a rentometer of what a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom, and a 3-bedroom rents for in the area, and then you can kind of pro forma it out. And it's very reasonable. And the banks will understand what your angle is on that. So
Those can be some of the best deals too, Tim. I mean, as you know, those people, they're not really business people. From what I've found, there's some of our best buys have been those guys that don't really have good financials. So you kind of have to help them put together the financials, and they have never raised rents on people. They're not at true market value. So, I mean, there's some red tape to it. It's a pain in the ass to get pushed through, but some of the best buys come that way.
Yep. I agree 100%. Nathan asked, hey, can you talk briefly about how you structure your deals? Ask me a little bit more, give me a little bit more context to that. What are you looking for on how we structure our deals? Because every deal kind of has its own structure, but typically we'll go and get bank financing or some sort of traditional financing at 75, 80% loan to value or loan to cost. So if we're buying something for $10 million, we'll get a $7.5 million loan on it. And then we'll go and raise capital from our investors. We'll syndicate in $100,000 increments. Some people write a check for $1 million or for $500,000 or for $250,000 or whatever. The $2.5 million down. And so we'll have those two tranches of capital, and that's how we typically do it. Now, over the past couple of years, we've done a lot of seller financing and bought with seller financing. Maybe they're the primary loan. Maybe they just carry back a little balance. Like right now, we have a deal with to ballpark numbers, $10 million. There's a $7 million loan in place. That is, Nick, do you know what the interest rate is? 4.5% on it.
Yeah, right around
Cleveland
there.
deal. Yep. 4.5% interest rate on $7 million. The seller's willing to carry back another $1 million at a blended cost. It goes up like every year, but it ends up averaging out to 3% over the course of 5 years, right? So I have a 3% loan on $1 million. I have a 4.5% loan on $7 million. So my blended cost is 4.25% on that first $8 million. And then I raise money from my investors. Let's call it at 10%. 10% paid in year one, because like there's a lot of rents that are below market. There's a lot of a little bit of shifting of tenants that we're gonna have to happen, and so we don't expect it to cash flow positive in year one. So what we're telling our investors is we're gonna pay 5% in year one and year two, and then it gets caught up in year two and year three to get to the 10% mark. And so that way they have some predictable cash flow, knowing that the other 5% is accruing, and that's a good creative way to structure, right? And so there's 1,000 different ways that you can skin a cat. I've seen sellers coming in as an equity, like I've done this. I've sold a property and then I stayed on the loan and stayed back in as an equity partner on the buying entity side. And they said, hey, I can't qualify for the loan, but I got the down payment. I can operate this thing and do all this. Tim, I'll give you 20% for staying on the loan on the buy side. And so I've sold properties that way. There's a lot of cool creative stuff that you can do on that stuff, Nathan, on that side of things. For the Q&A, wondered if you have any rules of thumb for what to pay for slow value adds. Tenants are there. It takes time to turn the ship around. Thanks. Yeah, I would try to, that's a good question. Here's what the process looks like. And by the way, you should definitely hop on our operational call. We'll talk about this on February 2nd when I do the construction one. And we'll talk about it again, probably on the operations, asset management, property management side. But there's a science and an art to turning over a value add deal. And what we typically do is, let's say we're buying a building, let's say this 200 unit building that I'm talking about. This is a value add. It's a moderate value add. We got 100 vacant units. Okay, it's 50% occupied right now, and it's just I just don't have time to oversee another value add project. So that's why we're selling. It needs 100 units turned. Those 100 units are probably going to average, I don't know, let's call it let's call it $7,500 per unit of really paint. Most of the flooring's in good shape, but some of them are gonna need some flooring, fixtures, and maybe appliances, right? And then they clean up the bathrooms, they clean up the kitchen, but they're not changing out any of that other stuff. Let's say it's $7,500 times 100 units. Okay. How quickly can you turn those? Like, this is conversations that you want to have with your construction team. But I'm not even touching the existing 50% of tenants that are there and paying rent initially. Now, if there's people not paying rent, there's people who are problematic, then yes, I'm going to evict them and get them out. But I'm not touching any of the existing tenants or raising any of their rents in the first year until I have these other 50 units that are empty. Let me get those units turned. Let me get new tenants moved in, and let those existing tenants see the value that we're bringing to the property. But once I have these 50 units filled up, I can go back to the other, or 50% of units filled up, I can go back to the other 50% of tenants and say, hey, listen, you should be paying $900 a month in rent. Right now you're at $575. I'm making up numbers. You're at $650. You see the amount of commitment that we made. You see the amount of value that we're bringing. I'm not going to bump you up to 900, but I need you more than 650. Can you pay 775? Right now, I can get them halfway there in year one, and then I could do that again in year two. And so that way, there's not this mass exodus of existing tenants who are good quality tenants, and I can bump up that rent over time. So, rule of thumb is focus on the existing tenants or the existing vacants first, fill those up, and then you go back and start working on the existing and occupied units and what that looks like. So that way you don't have this huge vacancy that turns. But you'll have 20 or 30% of those tenants as you raise rents. 20 to 30% of them will probably move out, but that's okay. The other 70% stay there, and you're going to get higher rents from the 20 to 30% that moved out, because you're going to get those all the way up, back up to market rate. But you don't do it out of the gate. You do it after the fact, after you get everything else done. Cash flow calculator is game changer. Yeah, for sure, Brian. Thank you. How do you get access? Yeah, just email Caleb on that stuff if you guys have any questions on it. Any questions? How do you split your GP LP on the equity? Yeah, so Nathan clarified how do we split the equity, and it depends on the deal, right? It depends on if I'm buying something that's fully stabilized, needs no work. I found it. The investor's writing the whole check. Management's in place. Is to set it and forget it. $100 million office building. I'm going to give more equity up to the limited partner. They're going to want 80% of the ownership of that, versus some new construction project that me and my team have to be on for the next year or 2 years of our life. And we're the ones creating the equity. We're the ones creating the value because we're the ones putting the work in. And it's a lot of work, right? Maybe I found an off-market deal for pennies on the dollar, and we put in the value add sweat equity portion of things. And depending on what the deal looks like on something like that, I'm going to expect more of the equity because I created the value. We also don't take a lot of fees. So we'll take an acquisition fee, but we don't take asset management fees. We don't take disposition fees. We don't take capital events fees. We don't take loan sponsorship fees, capital raising fees. I don't do any fees like that. We get an acquisition fee and then equity. And then now I'm in the same boat, rowing in the same direction as the investor, and making sure that the more money they make, the more money I make. So I would say majority of our deals are somewhere in the neighborhood of a 50-50 split, or 60-40 to the general partner, 40%, 30, 40, 50% to the limited partner. It just kind of depends on the deal and how much meat is on the bone. I back into the deal structure based on how good the returns are. And I always try to get my investors like a 20% annualized return. And so if I need to give up a little bit more equity because it's just a little bit tighter of a deal in order to get them their 20% return, then I'll give them 50% or 60% of the equity in the deal. If it's an absolute grand slam and I know that there's a ton of meat on the bone on this thing, then maybe I'll give up 30% of the equity on top, and then they get 25% returns annually. But usually I'm trying to make sure that they're getting a 20% IRR on their money, between the preferred return, between the cash flows, between equity value and anything else that comes in. I want to make sure that they're in that 20% ballpark. Is Legacy Wealth Academy geographically restricted at all? I'm an operator in Bay Area, California, wanting to shift to student housing and looking for a community. So Legacy Wealth Academy is like our library of master classes. It's like $10 a month. I think it's $9.95. And it's a bunch of my mastermind members, my legacy family members who have created courses and master classes, and there's short-term rental classes, there's retail and different other assets, mobile home parks, self-storage facilities, apartments, there's stuff on just mindset, there's stuff on raising private money, there's stuff on passively investing, there's stuff on sourcing deals. I mean, there's 1,000 different health topics even. So there's a bunch of different topics. And so if anybody's interested in that, yeah, you can go to Legacy, I think it's lwacademy.com. But Legacy Family, I think that's probably more what you're asking about, Michael, is no, we're not geographically restricted. We have operators all over the place. I see Manuel's here, he's in California, and he buys stuff in California and he buys stuff in North Carolina, right? And then Shy is in San Diego, and he's got a construction company, and he's got a bunch of these super high-end $1 million short-term rental properties that are a couple blocks from the beach in San Diego. So we have people all over the country in New York City and in upstate New York. We have people in the Southeast, people in the Southwest, people in middle of America, people in the Northwest, and so all over the place. So no, it's not geographically restricted in any way. Best way to scale a cold email list. And Nick put a resource out there, instantly.io.
Yeah, I'm still working through it. We've done a lot of cold email stuff over the years, and we've changed softwares, and we've tried this and tried that, and I think Instantly is the way to go. We're in our like second month of using it, but so far I'm loving it.
And by the way, we've been doing email marketing for many years. Like I didn't even know, but I would go to these RIA networking in groups and just collect business cards 10 years ago. And I had a drawer full of them. And eventually I put them in an Excel spreadsheet. And that's how we started sourcing a lot of multifamily deals. I put them all name, phone number, email address, and notes about who they were. And I just BCC and put it into my Gmail and sent out an email to everybody and say, hey, I'm looking to buy apartment buildings. And I'd send that out like every week to this list of brokers and agents and contractors and appraisers and real estate attorneys and real estate insurance agents and all these other different people that were in the community in some capacity. And I said, hey, who's got deals? Like we bought a 24 unit in a solid, I mean, it's a 70s vintage building, but it's like an A-class town, right? A very, very, it's a great property. And this went to some lady who was she's an administrative assistant or an executive assistant for a real estate office. So somehow I got her email address, probably from the MLS or whatever. She got the email. She said, hey, I don't own this, but I think it was her brother or could have her husband or something owned it. And the dude ran it like a slumlord. And so we were able to buy a 24 unit building just a few years. I think it bought it in 2019 for $500,000. Now we put another 1.2 or 1.3 million into it and totally renovated the entire thing. But we got a smoking deal off of that email list. If just by sending out an email on a weekly basis, telling people and staying relevant, staying top of mind, and at the forefront of their head. Because what I found is a lot of residential investors and brokers and agents don't know how to underwrite deals like you guys just learned today. And so they just discard those deals. And when they discard those deals, they go somewhere, right? Or they could say, hey, I know this one other person, maybe they'll buy it. And then they forward you the deal and you kick them a finder's fee or a commission or a thank you basket of some sort, or even a little piece of equity in the deal for them sourcing that and sending it over to you. So if you stay relevant and you stay top of mind, people will start sending you deals, right? You look at my social media, I talk about real estate, I talk about personal finance a lot. And because of that, I get a lot of deal flow. And because of that, I get a lot of investors that knock on my door and say, hey, I want to park some money with you. So be relevant, utilize these resources. There's such strong tools, amazing tools. We're able to meet people from all over the country, all over the world. Tyrion's in South Africa, which, by the way, bro, my brother might be moving there. And so I might be coming to visit you next winter. We got to meet up if I come down there for a month or something. And what else? What else? Any other questions? What other questions you guys got? Everybody's feeling good? Good, good. Well, we had a great group. Hopefully you guys took some great nuggets away. You will, if you registered for this, you will get the recording of it. So look for that. And then what else do we need? I think that's it. So there's going to be a handful of people, I'm sure, that you guys might be interested in Legacy Family. Happy to stay on, answer any questions, give you a little bit of a high level overview on our mastermind. We have a pretty cool event coming up in New Orleans next month, and would love to extend an invitation to you. So if you've been a part of a mastermind in the past, maybe you've seen a lot of value. I've been parts of probably a dozen different masterminds. I've been out to dozens and dozens and spoken on stages at different events and all these other things. And there's a lot of good things about some groups. There's some bad things about groups. We've created Legacy Family in order to try to maximize and amplify the good parts and eliminate the bad parts. And so we have two major components of Legacy Family. One is the events. And we do 3 big ass blowout summits in awesome cities 3 times a year, February, June, and October. And so this February, we're going to New Orleans. In October, we were in Scottsdale, Arizona. Last June, we were in Chicago. And we do these awesome events where we have speakers, we have discussion panels, we have workshops. We do we'll do some speed networking. We'll do roundtable hot seats, and we mix it all in within the day. And we always break by 4 o'clock. And at 4 o'clock, we do these unbelievable, awesome, super fun social activities. So we rented a boat and had 2 decks of this boat. We had a dance floor and all this food, and they were shooting fireworks out in the summertime over the Chicago skyline one night. The other night, we went and rented one of the top floors of one of the tallest buildings in all of Chicago and had this unbelievable view and food and drink spread and everything else. So the events are over the top, first class, top shelf the whole way. And those are the bigger summits. We usually have about 150 people at those, sometimes 200, depending on how many people show up. And then we have like smaller meetups as well that we have a few times a year. So if you want more of an intimate meetup where you have some more one-on-one time with me and the team, we host those too. And there's no cost to those. You come out to those, you got to get there and get your hotel room, obviously, but then we take care of all the food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the social activities, all the speakers, all the presentations, transportation, all that kind of stuff. If we're going somewhere as a group and all that jazz. So that's a lot of fun. And the second component, so that's the events. The second component is the daily boardroom call. So it's kind of like a board of directors for your business, like a roundtable hot seat on a daily basis that you can plug into. So if you're button heads with a seller, or if you're trying to figure out how to underwrite a deal, or if you got a big decision to make with an employee, like my executive team is on a call every single day of the week from 12 to 1 Eastern time, answering any question for you, one-on-one for you. So Nick's on there talking all about marketing, acquisitions, underwriting, email marketing, any of those things that you would want every single Monday. Matt Carlin, my COO, is on every single Tuesday. He's built out our entire standard operating procedures, KPIs, all the metrics for our property management company and our project management and our asset management side of things. Chief Investment Officer Fatty Bumitri, he and I have raised about $125 million over the past few years of mom and pop money from investors like you and me, and knows how to structure it, knows how to stay SEC compliant. He's a former attorney, so he can offer some direction on any sort of like legal issues potentially. He's not an attorney for you, but you know, I gotta make disclaimers on all that crap. But he's an awesome resource. And then our chief HR officer, Scott Hannes, who used to work for a $2 billion hedge fund that used to buy companies, had 950 employees. This guy understands everything there is to know about organizational charts, hiring, firing, health insurance plans, 401k plans for your employee, like whatever you want to know on the personnel side. Like this guy's a phenomenal resource, and he works for me, right? All these guys work for me that are accessible for you as your board of directors. And so we have never done this before, but we're actually going to offer like a try it component of test it out, see if it's a good fit for you, where you could buy a ticket to the upcoming New Orleans Summit. It's in February 28, 29 in New Orleans. It's my 1-year-old having a good time over here at lunch. But you can come out to New Orleans, you can buy a ticket, test it out, get a feel for it, get to meet the amazing people. Like the members in our mastermind are really the magic of it, right? Like I've been blessed to attract some really, really good people into the group. And by putting the right people in the room, like you fall ass backwards into deals on accident, right? You raise money on accident almost. And just because you're in the right room with the right people who are out there doing big things. And so if it's something that you're interested in, we're going to offer tickets. I think they're $29.97 or something like that. So $2,997 in order to come out to a single event. You come out to the event. If you like it, if you enjoy it, then you can take a look at, it's a one-time offer. That's it, right? You can't come out and buy tickets every single time, but you can come out and test out Legacy Family once. And if you like it, you feel good about it, it will waive the upfront membership fee. And then it's just a monthly of $1,500 a month. And so part of the, and that's the mastermind. And that includes everything else that you have. So for a minimal expense, you have an entire board of directors, you get up to 6 in-person events per year, and that are just over the top, unbelievable networking and a ton of fun. So if you are around, you want to come out to the New Orleans event, come and plug in, buy a ticket, come on out. We'll match you up with somebody who's a veteran member of our mastermind, where you can sit down with them. You can have lunch and breakfast with that person, and they can answer some questions. You get a good feel for what the summits look like. And this summit is all about personal finance. We always talk about different topics. We always have different themes, but this one's all about finance. And so the first day we're going to be taught, we have a panel all about how to gain access to money, how to become more bankable, how to become more financeable, how to boost your balance sheet, how to boost your credit, how to make yourself bankable to the big lending institutions. Then we'll be talking a lot about how to raise private money, specifically through self-directed retirement accounts. So our girl Amanda Holbrook's going to be there talking all about the multiple trillions of dollars that are in retirement accounts and how to gain access to it and how people can self-direct those funds into one of your real estate deals. Then in the afternoon, I have a guy who's got a company that, and by the way, we don't sell anything. This isn't a run to the back of the room. We have nothing to sell. It's a total fulfillment event. That's what all of our events are. The only thing we offer is the Legacy Family membership. Obviously, if you want to do business with these people, then you're welcome to do business with any of them. But they don't sell anything from the stage. It's all value driven, 100% value driven. And so at the end of the day, we have someone who's going to close out day one with all about accessing free money or deferred money. And so talking about tax credits, talking about grants, talking about solar and green energy credits and conservation easements and historical tax credits and all these different things you might have heard about, but you don't really understand or haven't gotten a detailed explanation of. We're talking about how to tap into all these untapped resources and gain access to free or very low cost money or tax deferred money. And then knowing that for yourself, also you can educate your private investors on why they can then come into your deals and stuff. So pretty cool day one. Day two, we're actually be dissecting. We asked everybody to bring their profit and loss statement, and we're going to go through an exercise and a workshop on how to trim fat on your profit and loss statement in order to increase margin. So we're going to be going through all of that on that morning. There's a bunch of networking. We got some speed networking. We're going to do some roundtable hot seats, and I'm missing something else. Who else is can't remember what else we got going, but there's a bunch of other finance speakers and people talking about personal finance. So it's gonna be a really, really good event. I think it's and what's cool is like it's very quantifiable what the return on investment is going to be, right? So like you come out, you got $1 million business, and we show you how to trim 3.5% from your profit and loss statement. That saves you an extra $35,000 a year. That one event, you bought a ticket for $3,000, paid for itself 11.5 times over, you know? So you got what is that? 1,100% return on investment. So a lot of good stuff going on. And if you guys want to get a feel for it, what we'll do is I'll play a quick video. Jed, if you want to play that quick video on the closeout from the last summit in Scottsdale, and then kind of like the excitement for the New Orleans thing. It's like a 3 to 5 minute video. Check that out. And then they put the link over here in the chat box if anybody is interested in plugging in. We'd love to have you.
Rolling. But it's not just having the life, it's what do we intend to do with it. And that's why we come into rooms like this, because it's how can we get even stronger and how can we get even better. It's doing what others don't even think about doing because they don't enter into rooms like this. That's why I love this group. Make some noise for Tim
Number one, I commend you for being here, right? You could be a lot of different places. There's a lot of noise that happens in life. The best return on your dollars you will ever get is in your own mindset, in relationship capital, and that's what you should be spending your money on.
Are you ready for a comeback? Are you ready to fly?
all the way, Ray Gonzalez.
You gotta have that strong will. You gotta be uncompromising. You gotta do it when it's hard. Okay, when you don't want to do it the least, when you have that dark end of the soul and you don't want to do it and you do it anyway, that's when magic happens. When you keep showing up. And then the love affair begins. You start to love yourself. Then the universe trusts you.
Let's do this.
Sales is not an active battle. A lot of people look at it as an active battle. It's not. It's a process of discovery. It's figuring out exactly what it is you want, and up to me to figure out if I can give that to you. Ask the questions, have the conversation so that the other person is essentially playing poker with the cards face up.
Anybody that's successful in any field is focused, and so it's just I guess just an encouragement to stay focused on what's really important to drive your business forward. It's easy to have shiny object syndrome, and so just the encouragement to just stay focused on what's important to drive what's important in your life, whether it's in your business or your family.
When I started Legacy Family, it was, I think I only had like 10 short-term rentals we were managing. Now we're at 35. I like being around so many people that have like a whole lot of different backgrounds, different specialties as well too.
If you want to dominate next year, if you really want to change your business, I want you to think about Tupac.
Yeah. Clear enough for you? All right. Yeah, picture me rolling in my 500 Benz.
You guys got excited for a second. I know you did.
Don't be funny right now. I need you to focus. Focus. Don't be funny. Don't draw attention. Don't draw attention. Come on.
Now when it comes to fear, you can either forget everything and run.
I said
or you can face everything and rise.
I believe.
And let me tell you what I believe.
I believe that.
I believe we're gonna face everything
I believe
and
that we
rise.
will win.
Legacy Family, not for the weak. Is that it?
That's it.
That's all you want me to do?
That's all I want you to do.
Oh my gosh.
Nice job.
Oh, thanks.
It's not how you fall, it's how you get back up.
The big thing about the workouts is like, you know, it's Legacy Family, the symbol's a torch and all that, and it's like that torch has got to get from point A to point B at some point. You got a lot of distance to go, a lot of things to do. You know, this body's going to take you there, so love those guys. It's going to be not long enough until I see them again, so.
It is Legacy Summit Day 2, and guess who's starting us off? Who? Brian Manley!
Whatever it takes.
People come for the money, they stay for the relationships and the culture. If you're only keeping people for the money, it's commodifying your business, and it's just like somebody hiring whoever gives them the lowest price. So anybody looks and goes, you're riding high now, you don't have to do any of these things. Look, sleep on the floor after 15-hour days, wake up with a heart and body hurt, but they get to be part of the journey. There's buy-in to who you are. You're not Superman.
What I love about not only Tim, but about Tim's tribe is the transparency that's in the room. Does that make any sense? Right? No one's coming in here trying to show off something that they're not, or I mean, you got people in sandals. Look at this. These are great. The flops right there, man. Come on. Like, that guy's not trying to impress anybody, right? Right? I love that.
Phoenix means rebirth, right? And I think that's a pretty good fitting theme for this event. The key here is to give ourselves a little bit of a rebirth, right? To refine so we can be more efficient, so we can be more effective and more dynamic moving into the new year and absolutely crush it.
The biggest thing that I know that Tim brings to the table at Legacy Family is just bringing really good people, authentic, just naturally good people. And every time we get together, we learn something new. We're able to grow together and leave with good contacts. So Legacy Family means exactly what it says, family.
Hey, and that's a wrap. Hopefully you guys had an amazing time at the Legacy Summit here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. Sunny, gorgeous, tons of fun. The team did an amazing job planning this. I got to give them huge accolades, send a big thanks to Annalise and Alyssa and the entire team for planning and organizing this event. I think everything was on point, right? The speakers were on point, the panels were on point, the networking was amazing, the roundtable hot seats, and obviously all the social events are always an absolute riot. I am super, super excited to invite you guys to the next Legacy Summit. It's going to be taking place, mark your calendars, February 28th and 29th at the Royal Sonesta Hotel and Resort on Bourbon Street in downtown historic New Orleans, Louisiana.
In the South Lane, there's a city way down on the river where the women are very pretty and all the men deliver.
Good stuff. So if you guys can make it out, we'd love to have you. I think it's going to be an amazing, or I don't think, I know it's going to be an amazing time. I know the speakers are going to absolute crush. I know that everything that is coordinated, all the evening activity, I think we got a parade down Bourbon Street with a live band, and we have some restaurants and stuff rented out, and a lot of good stuff going. We're going to do a ghost tour like the first night that we get in, and all sorts of other fun stuff. So if you want to plug in, go into the chat box and click on that link. We'll share that. And if you're on social media, we'll post it in the social media comments as well. But it's going to be an awesome time. But that's a great way that you can try out Legacy Family, meet the amazing people, become part of the community from there. And I think, not that I think, I know 2024 will be your best year if you put yourself in the right rooms, making sure that you're hanging out with the right people and consistently staying active and consistently staying in those rooms and consistently nurturing those relationships is going to help you grow, help you build deep and deepen those relationships. It's going to help you grow your business. It's going to help you grow your personal life individually, become a better parent, become a better spouse, become a better friend. And we do workouts every single morning because the health component absolutely matters. And we have a ton of fun in the evening. So hopefully I get to see you guys there. And make sure that you're here again next week. We'll be talking all about personal brand Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon Eastern time. I'll see you guys next week.